Hi, my name is Kimberly Lopez, and I'm really excited to be working with Cora. I had some time to review her assessment results in mathematics and was um, quite delighted to see that she's got a lot of strengths in the geometry, as I'm sure you've been told that before. So that was wonderful. One of the things that did stand out to me and was indicated in the profile was an instructional area in which she needs additional focus and attention with is number sense and operations, and I really believe that's the foundation for mathematics, and that's what's really going to keep her moving forward. And I noticed in her growth over time chart, this is what's shown here. I kind of looked at her scores from fifth grade, sixth grade, and seventh grade now, or fall of seventh grade, and she is making growth over time, which is wonderful. And in order to increase that growth and become even more proficient, she really needs to have a basic solid understanding in number sense. And when you get into seventh grade, we're talking about integers, fractions, word problems, and how to use that sense of 100, base 10, place value and whatnot, and how that is all tied together is important. So those are the things I'll be working on with your daughter, and I'm very excited about the opportunity. Thank you. Okay, so that was my introduction to the family. I know my video is not supposed to exceed 5 minutes. I apologize about that. That's a little bit of an embarrassment. But I reviewed Cora's data, and what I always do when I go through standards is I highlight the standard, of course, and then I will always underline the verbs of what the student actually needs to be able to do. Okay, it's not a thing. It's an activity. It's a verb. It's something that she needs to do. So, for example, right here it says in standard 3D 1.2, solve. Okay, so that's the verb. Okay, then I go a little bit further. Solve 1 and 2 step problems. Okay, those are going to be word problems. Using categorical data represented with the frequency table, pictograph, or bar graph with scaled intervals. Before that can happen, though, I noticed that on her number and operations, number sense, again, fundamental, I noticed there's a big discrepancy in determining missing values in a function, using tables to represent real-world problems, and throughout I kept seeing real-world situations and word problems, real-life word problems that were kind of tripping her up. She was having a lot of difficulty with that. So before what I would do in my first meeting with the student, my first one-on-one. So I'd kind of want to get to know her and her abilities based on something in addition to that formal assessment. While it was wonderful, I want to know how to work with her in a more informal way so that she is able to take the concepts that we learn together and apply them to the tests. So, first I would explain the strengths with her. I will always explain strengths with students, and I believe it is a student's, to create ownership in the student's learning, they need to be able to set goals. And I call them journey goals. They're not necessarily points goals. It goes from, instead of saying, I want to earn 100% on my next quiz, it's, I want to learn how to add and subtract integers so that I can understand how to add and subtract fractions. So we are moving on in steps, and what I would do is keep an interactive notebook with her where we actually glue activities in there, and those also become homework assignments, home fun, not homework. So what I would like to do with her first is kind of just review the 6th grade math. I call this a cheat sheet. She can keep it home. And it's just going from integers, and I've color-coded this because I think it's a very good visual for some students. She had a big strength in geometry. That's a visual skill, so I'm having a feeling this helps. It's always helped me to have a color-coded layout like this. We're going from the simpler to the more complex. So I have here the integers just labeled in orange, and this is just an example. But obviously, I've done addition and subtraction, green and red. And this is just a cheat sheet, okay? This, she can use at home. She's going to need this support. It's a visual support. I've gone ahead and done this for the 6th grade. For the 7th grade, it's very similar. Okay, so she need not feel that, you know, she's lagging too far behind. It's only the fall of 7th grade. So we're reviewing. It's a spiral review of 6th grade mathematics. So then she's going to have this cheat sheet of the 7th grade math, and she's going to go ahead and fill it out. We'll do that together. Just, you know, so she has that ingrained in her brain. I mean, it's sort of a process where if you do it yourself, it becomes much simpler. And then going from there, excuse me, I left this over here. As I had mentioned, we were going to keep an interactive notebook, and I really, really believe in the power of those because there's one thing about worksheets. It's great. You don't tend to get a lot of feedback from the teacher on worksheets. They end up in the trash. So what I would like to do, now this looks like it's a very long word problem. It's not. It's just that it's printed on a quarter size piece of 8.5 by 11 sheet. One of the things I think that is kind of confusing to many students is what words, verbs, what words do they need to pick out in order to make an equation. So this is obviously more than a one-step word problem, but it says, Brian sells custom skateboards at his store. When a customer buys 3 skateboards, he takes $50 off the total price. I would not give her this one. I made a different one. But this is an example. If the price of 3 skateboards after the difference is $400, what does 1 skateboard cost? Eventually, she is going to need to be able to do this. Okay, so then I've folded this up. Here are the words. Okay, so what is it that she's being asked to find? She can draw even a pictorial representation. That is sometimes very helpful to kids when dealing with concepts. And then from that, she's going to write the equation. This goes into her interactive journal. It's glued in. I kind of use, well, I don't kind of use, I do use just one of those composition notebooks. Here's a simpler one. Kylie buys 4 sweaters and 3 shirts. She spent a total of $100. If each sweater costs $20, what's the price of each shirt? So what I would do then, as an assessment that day, immediate assessment, immediate feedback, would be for her to solve this, put it in her interactive journal where she would have that. And she could also, I'd probably laminate these cheat sheets for her so she would have them also in there, glued in, where she can refer back to them at all times. And so I think the most important thing is really validating what she is doing well and how the geometry can really play into the number sense when we're talking about adding and subtracting just whole numbers. She knows 360 degrees for a triangle. that what it is? Um, we could start subtracting, adding, using those as word problems, also using coins. I tried to kind of incorporate money into one of these because one of the standards was using money in real world problems. So that's what I would do for her. There's a lot of resources on Engage New York for mathematics. I love their curriculum. I've always used it. Eureka Math is based on that. So I did put that in the lesson plan. Thank you very much.